Good morning, everyone. It is Brenda Quintana live from my Beehive studio this morning. It is a really nice day out here today. It's sunny and I think it's going to get a little warmer later on, so I'm kind of excited about that. Today's card that I'm going to be sharing with you is with a stamp set called Let It Ride. And I like horses, but I've never really had like a super close connection to horses. But there's some stamp sets that when you look at them and the images, they just kind of speak to you. And right from the moment I saw Let It Ride, I was like, yeah, I think I want that stamp set. It is a good combination stamp set. It has images, it has greetings, and this week it is my featured product of the week. Yesterday I did a really cute set of note cards with it, and later this week I'm going to have a note card box that matches the note cards, and I think you'll really like that. But today for my Casing Tuesday card, I managed to use the stamp set of the week. Sometimes that's not always possible because it doesn't fit in very well with the parameters, but this week it did, and I'm so happy about that. And I don't know, the other thing I really like about this one is that the focal point image is actually stamped on colored cardstock rather than white cardstock. Maybe when I flip around the card, I'll talk a little bit about focal points and why I generally use white focal points, but this one actually worked out really well. So I need to do a couple things. Let me just turn on some lights here. Oops. I've got my big shot at my feet. So many things on this little stamping desk. You can only see a portion of it when I'm working, but it's actually a big table, but I've got an ink pad holder on it, and I've got my Stampin' blends, and so there's a lot of stuff going on the table. Okay. Oh, and for those of you who are just like, what is she doing today? This is Casing Tuesday. It's the day when a group of us take a card out of one of the current Stampin' Up! Catalogs and we give it a makeover. And the nice thing about taking a card as a starting point is that it takes some of the work away from you. So you don't have to really think about the layers and stuff because you've already got a starting point. The layers are kind of already decided for you, and you can change them around a little bit, but it really helps you with your workflow so that you can choose an image that fits in the focal point layer and then just kind of build the card around from there. I find that sometimes it would probably, reduce my creative time at least by 50%, if not more, depending on the card. Sometimes I can like whip out a card in 20 minutes or less when I have a starting point. Whereas when I have a card, when I'm starting it completely from scratch out of my head, it will take a lot longer. So this is a really good thing for both beginners and for people that have been stamping for a while. Oh, yay! I'm glad you could make it, Betty. It's very nice to see everyone. Lisa, Connie, Renee, and Betty are all with me this morning. Yay! And I know a lot of you watch later on when I pop this over onto YouTube as well. So thank you so much for joining me. And if you have questions throughout this broadcast, if you want to post them for me, and I'll try and answer them live. And if I don't get a chance to answer them live, I will try and answer them later on once I see them. Okay, I'm going to switch my camera around so that we can see what we're stamping today. All right, look at my view this morning. It is like a really nice sunny day right now. It's a little windy, but that will help keep it cool. Yesterday it actually got hot enough to turn on the air conditioner, but I didn't. I was like, nope, I'm not turning on the air conditioner yet. It's not time yet. All right, so today's card is this card. This is the card out of the catalog. This is out of the Occasions catalog on page 18. It is this card using the Piece of Cake bundle, which is a really cute bundle, but I want us to do something a little different. I also found that this sample is quite busy, don't you think? It's a nice sample, but it's got a very busy background. Probably not a card that I would create because it's got too much going on. So let's talk a little bit about focal points and why maybe I don't like this card 100%. I probably would have preferred it with a completely white background. It is a nice card, don't get me wrong, but everyone has personal taste. I like a cleaner style. And the reason why this card might be a little too busy is, and this is the whitest layer, the lightest layer, so you still won't focus in on the cake. But when you have a card and you're building it and you have too many things to look at, too many competing things to look at, you don't know where to look. And our eyes like to focus in on something and then kind of move around the card. So my card here, you can kind of, let me bring them in together. So my card is a lot simpler. Usually I would use a white background. Like I would take this horse and it would be a white background. And you can see when you have a white background, whoa, your eye really goes to the light. And it also goes usually to the largest element and to the light. So you can see that, that your eye really attracts that way. Sahara sand is a very light color, so your eye kind of goes there. And I wanted kind of a more maybe rustic feel, a little bit more country feel, and I thought Sahara sand would give that to me. I chose Very Vanilla for this banner layer. So it does have, I think, a pretty good flow, but I'm always kind of conscious over the fact that it is easier to build a card that has a light focal point layer. You can definitely do a card that has a dark focal point layer, but it's a lot harder, especially for beginners. So if you've ever created a card and you don't know why you're not loving it, you know, have a look at where your eye is focusing and if there is flow around the card. And if you don't have a light focal point layer, that might be a little bit of a problem. You always want your eye to focus in on something and then flow around. It makes for an easier, a better kind of card experience. Now I'm just blabbing, but this I have found true many times over. I still remember creating a card that I thought was going to be really wonderful, and I had created it like with 5 elements on it, 5 really cool elements, but they all competed with each other for where to look. And I was like, I love all these elements on my card, but I don't really love the card. And so it turns out that there were too many focal points. So anyway, this is my card, and I kind of like it. So let's move things around. This is the stamp set. It's called Let It Ride. It's got some really nice images on it and some nice greetings that match. And so let's start off with stamping our horse. This layer, I need to grab my cheater sheet, printed off the dimensions, and then I left them across the room. Okay, so this piece right here is 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And I've got my horse stamp right here. I want to have my sample card out here, otherwise I'll have no clue where I need to stamp things. All right. The nice thing about Stampin' blends is you can color on colored cardstock, and it has a nice look to it. So I just kind of want this a little bit towards the top. Just trying to decide where to put it. I think that will be good. Yeah. And let's do some more stamping since I have everything out. So this is my little banner layer, and this will be a piece of Very Vanilla, and it's 4.5 inches by 7/8 of an inch. And I'm just going to stick this in my banner triple punch. I'm sticking it in upside down. because it doesn't fit in the slot exactly. I want to see how it looks in the window, making sure it's centered, and then I'm going to punch it. Then I'll grab the greeting. Turn this around the way I want it. And let's hope I can stamp this straight. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I think that's all I need to stamp in black. All right, let's do some coloring, and I'm going to use 3 colors for this. The main color is the soft suede light. Let's see how nicely this colors on the Sahara sand. Stampin' blends are just great. I have really, I think, come to depend on them since we got them in stock. For a while, when we didn't have alcohol markers, I was doing a lot of watercoloring, but I just love how bold Stampin' blends are. And these ones are really great. I've had a lot of mine right from the beginning. I've only had to replace a few that I use a lot, but so far they've been pretty juicy. So that's really awesome. They did a good job of picking a manufacturer this time. So you can see the horse really looks great. Sahara sand and soft suede look really nice together. You can come back in and shade a little bit. I would just use the same color, soft suede. Makes for really easy shading because it blends a little better. It creates a little bit, it makes it a little darker, but it's hard to over color, like to make a mistake if you're using the same one and you're just going over top. It just tends to deepen the color, so you won't have too much trouble with that. So then for the horse's mane and the tail, I'm going to take a crumb cake light marker and I'm just going to trace gently over these lines. It will just help the image look a little better. And then I'm just going to flick up on the mane. I think that looks pretty good. Then I'm going to take my basic black light and come in here and color the hooves. Okay, so that's all I did for the horse. Oh, and you know one thing I forgot to show on this one? Wish I would have remembered, but this on my main card, you can leave like a little blaze on the horse's forehead if you want. I just kind of go around and draw a little circle, and then I omit that part. I don't color that part at all. So that will give you that little lighter spot on the horse, but I didn't do that for this one, and that's fine. But I kind of like putting that little spot in. If you can remember to do it, you kind of almost need to trace a little circle around that spot first. Otherwise, I just tend to forget. Okay, so I need to emboss a piece of soft suede cardstock. This piece is 4 1/4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. And let me grab my big shot. I've got my base platform. I've got my subtle embossing folder. Let me just slip this soft suede piece in there. And then I just need 1 cutting plate because it's a thick embossing folder. And I'm just going to run this through. Now I debated whether or not I've done some background stamping on this piece, and I debated whether or not to do that first or second, but I ended up doing it before or after, after embossing rather than before, and it worked out well, so I'm just going to kind of stick with that. I'm using the trees, and this is my soft suede ink pad. I'm going to ink this up. I might want a little piece of scrap paper because I might end up coming off the page a bit. So let's see. I want to be probably about an inch from the bottom on the left-hand side. Okay, so I just want some trees there. And then on the right-hand side, I want to be just a little bit higher. So if I did an inch here, maybe do like an inch and a half on that side. Okay, so it's just a little bit higher. So then I'll need a card base, and this base is 11 inches by 4¼ inches, and I'm going to glue these two pieces together. So I will just add those two pieces together. All right, now let's glue the horse piece to a piece of basic black. The basic black is 3 inches by 4¼ inches. Don't worry if you don't want to write down these measurements and you want to participate with us. You can just go to my blog. I'll have the link in the description of this video, and I have them all written down for you. And I have a supply list. And I have a link to our Casing Tuesday Facebook group so that you can join us. So you can see the blends bled through, but that's not a problem because I'm gluing it on and I'm not going to see the back of it. So this is a crooked layer. So I'm just going to kind of do it crooked on here, but I'm still kind of balancing it a little bit. It's still symmetrically crooked. Ha! I have the same amount of space top to bottom and side to side, so I can maintain a little crookedness if I can have a little control over it. Now I'm going to, the horse layer is going to be, what do you call it, square with the top, or parallel to the top. So there is a method to the crooked layer madness. Yes, I can handle having some crooked layers if I can control them. So this is probably about 3/4 inch from the top. Maybe I should scoot it down because I think my first one was a little, it's about 1 inch from the top. And let me scoot this over. Okay, I think I'm decided on the placement. Okay, then I need to bring in this layer, and this one kind of covers a little bit of the horse. It actually covers this ground piece right here. And so I'm just going to add that right here, like that. All right, and now the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this baker's twine. So this will be a new product. All of these products that I've used so far on the card are available right now, and you can get them right now. And I have a host code going. If you need any of the products, you can use the host code. You can get a free tutorial, and if you spend $75 in a month, you will get my gift of the month. Which this month it is the button embossing folder that will be mailed out in June. So this is what it looks like when it's embossed, the button embossing folder. So anyway, but this twine right here is not available right now. This is the Night of Navy Sahara Sand baker's twine, and it will be available starting on June 4th. So what I'll do for this, I want to kind of create a little bit of a loop. So I'll take 2 of my fingers and wrap this around twice, like that. And then let me cut this off about here. And then I'm just going to loop this inside and tie a knot up at the top. Like that. Let me kind of bring this around. Okay, so you can kind of get the idea. I just kind of looped it around and then tied a knot at the top. It's just a little different way of tying something. I think for this card, it looks cool. It looks better than having a bow on this card because this looks kind of a little bit like some rope that you would use to you know, when you're working with horses. But it's kind of funny because the greeting says, "Live as if someone left the gate open." So this horse is actually escaping the rope and is going for a wild ride in beautiful forest. So the rope is behind it. The horse is running away from it. So, and not that it's bad to work with horses or anything like that, but I was just kind of thinking the greeting and the rope were kind of a little different, you know, like they were kind of canceling each other out. So I kind of thought that was funny. So I'm just going to take your pick tool and I'm going to grab a mini glue dot. I'll just stick that down up top here. And then I'll just stick my knot right into here. So that is the card. Not too hard at all, huh? But I think it looks harder than it is, right? Because, you know, you've done a few things. It's got a lot of elements on it, but I don't think it was very hard at all to make this card. So I really like this challenge for this week, this layout. We also have a sketch on my blog. If you want to do layers like this, it will have the measurements for the original card right here. I don't know if I went right off of the original card. Sometimes I kind of just, you know, decide myself where I want to go, but there is a sketch that you can use for that. So let me scroll down and see if we have any questions. Let's see. No question. Okay. Well, I'm so glad you guys like this card. Let me turn this around. Turn myself back around. Okay. So I want you to join me in the Casing Tuesday challenge. I wonder if you can make a card based on the same sketch, and if you do, you can post it to our Facebook group, and you can find the link for that below. And this morning I was on there already, and we've already got several cards posted, so you can see some other samples, which is sometimes helpful. You can kind of see different stamp sets that people use. Because the original stamp set was a cake stamp set. I used a horse. There's probably some with flowers already posted on there. So you can see a wide range of how you can take this base card and change it into a different card. So that's always helpful when you go on there and see some of the samples, and it will help you, give you ideas of how you can change this card. And we're a really great supportive group, so don't feel like you have to be an expert stamper to join us on there. We welcome beginners as well, and we're really glad that the group helps you when you're able to navigate making a card with a base card as a starting point. All right, guys. Well, I have a few busy weeks coming up very soon, but I don't think I'm going to be missing any Tuesdays coming up. My son is graduating in a few weeks, and I have guests coming from out of town, but I think I'll still be able to manage my popping in here on a Tuesday. But yeah, exciting times. We only have one child, and so for us it's a big deal because it's like our first and our last, and like we're like, yay! And it's kind of crazy, you know, when you have like one child, you focus all your energy on it, on him, and so it's kind of a little crazy over here right now, but I'm very excited about that. All right, guys, I hope you guys have a fabulous week and do some stamping this week. Use it as a relaxation method. We have a crazy world sometimes, but when we connect with paper and art supplies, it can really have a calming effect. So make sure that you do something for you this week. And I will see you back here next Tuesday. Have a great week. Bye-bye.